Thank you very much for being here today, Anne. Welcome. And we are really excited to have you. You're one of our favorite guests as Dukesbridge School. We love having you come and talk to our parents, and especially this topic about happiness in the home and as parents. So I wanted to ask you if you could share to our listeners what a bit about your journey, like how have you come to be here and in what you're doing right now?
Yes, so I'm Rajoo, and I'm the founder of the Magic Mom Life. And my mom life wasn't always magical. There was quite a period in my life where I would wake up quite frustrated, angry, resenting motherhood, and just not feeling happy. And I realized that if I wanted to have a different life, I've got to create that life. So I'm originally from Germany. I always dreamt of traveling the world. So I studied tourism. I was living in London for quite a while, met my Mauritian husband there. Then we moved here. And ever since we're raising our family in this beautiful island and trying to live that magical life, even though sometimes it's quite challenging. And I've been working in Mauritius and travel for a few years, but then decided that I wanted to spend more time with my kids, be more present, gave up the career. And because of the struggles and experiences I had, I got into into coaching myself so that I could feel happier and realize that I feel really passionate about this topic and really passionate about helping moms and parents to live that amazing parenting life that they actually probably wanted for themselves. And so I started my coaching business, and now I help moms to find the magic in their daily lives.
That's just amazing that you're saying that how much you love it, and obviously love learning and giving advice to other moms. Well, in fact, just as I was researching, over the course of the last year, I did a lot of research about happiness, children at school and just society in general. But one piece of research that came out was basically saying that regardless of any country that we may live in, having children actually gives less happiness than if we did not have any child. Yes, I was actually blown away by that sort of research. And so I was like, well, between Shannon and I, we have three kids. And so did we make the wrong decision?
Here we made the wrong decision. Yeah, I've got two kids. And like I said in the intro, I wasn't happy as a mom. So I can very much understand why people might feel that way, why some people might say, no, I'm not happy with having children. And I think it depends a lot on the circumstances as well and their experience by themselves. But for me, it's not the wrong decision. I love children. I love my kids. I love all kids. But I think as well, life is so much richer with children and it never gets boring. And I believe the growth that I've experienced for myself, I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't have children. And I mean, just think about going to the beach. If you go by yourself, or with the kids? What is more fun? All the little things that you experience with the kids, all the memories we made. Yes, there are hard times, but these conversations. I mean, one of my clients last week shared a hilarious conversation with her son because she's starting a job after a few years of being at home. So the kind of conversations we can have with our kids, they can be hilarious, and you won't have these with a grown up or the crazy freeze dance parties we have in our house. They're magical. So yeah, I think it's not the wrong decision, but I do believe that it depends on how you look at things. So when you ask me this question, my first thought would be, if we focus on the struggles of parenting, how hard it is, how tired we are, how difficult it is to provide, to make the money we need, to give them the opportunities we want them in life, if we focus on how difficult it is, that's what we're going to get. There is this saying of Wayne Dyer, I think it goes like, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if you focus on the bad stuff, you're going to get the bad stuff. If you focus on the magic, you're going to get the magic. And that's, I think, where the key lies a little bit in that question.
I'll just share a funny anecdote on that one. I mean, when you say, would you rather go to the beach with your kids or by yourself? I mean, for me, we have a little one and he is 5 years old. And for me, my heart just races when he's in the water because he's had like near drowning experiences.
Many times.
And
near drowning.
you know, he's like a go-getter. He would just like run and go in the water and, you know, just want to go where his brothers are going. And I'm a bit of a stressor, you know, I would get anxious about it. And I don't think at that moment I can really enjoy my kids, you know, I can't really enjoy that happiness moment. But is that something wrong with me?
No, it's something that you can practice to change. So you can choose to focus on, wow, this guy is a go-getter. Wow, he follows his big brothers like no other, and he's got this spirit. He loves the water. You can focus on that by practicing that focus. You can quieten that voice that you have of like, oh gosh, something is going to happen to him. He's going to drown, whatever. You can practice quieting that voice. And again, it's focusing on, if you focus on what could happen to him, something might happen to him. If you focus on, he is capable, his brothers are there and he can do the things, I don't know, he might be learning to swim, you know, he's going to be okay. It's just finding that the way to quieten the negative voice and focusing on the positive.
Are there any ways that we can really enjoy parenting? Like, what are the keys? You were saying that you've found, you believe you've found the key to magic at home. Could you speak to that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think happiness comes in all forms, shapes, and sizes. It doesn't mean that I'm a person who's always happy. I have bad days like everyone else. I do have sad, negative emotions as well. But happiness can really be in the little things. I think this is the importance to see the small, small, happy, magical moments, because when you put them together, just like you put your money in the bank, you know, you put it in over time and it grows. And the small magical moments, they grow and they fill your happiness cup and they push those negative thoughts away because you have a bunch of positives. So that's definitely one key, to find those little things and appreciate them. But also, I believe parenting is a bit like a flower. So you water your flower, it has a flower, it blossoms. And how often it blossoms really depends on how much water you give it, how much sunlight it gets, and how much fertilizer. And the water in parenting is a bit like realizing that very often we attach our worth and capability as a parent to our child's behavior. So if our child behaves badly, we think we are a bad parent. And we internalize these feelings and we're like, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not good enough. I'm frustrated about that. I'm frustrated about my child. But also what happens, we reverse it. We attach value to how much they or how well they behave. So it's a good kid or it's a bad kid. And if he doesn't, or she doesn't behave well, she doesn't listen to us, then she doesn't have as much value. But we all have innate value. No one can take away our value as a person. And we need to detach that thinking of, I'm good or bad, the kid is good or bad. So that's the water. Then the sunlight is really realizing that children have developmental phases. There are certain behaviors that are normal in these phases. And also behavior is a way of communicating for them. I mean, the brain only finishes developing, I think, in our mid-20s. So if you have little school kids, you're just at the beginning of that journey and of their development. So they don't have the language that we have to express. So they behave in certain ways. And very often all they are looking for is connection with the person that is most important to them, and to find a way to control, because their emotions are going wild. They don't know how to express or to control anger, how to release it. They don't know that. So they physically need to do something. And it's just part of their development. So if we realize that, okay, it's not a bad kid, he's not doing that to upset me, it's just part of the development. And then the fertilizer is how we communicate with them, how we communicate with others around us, what we model to them, because they are sponges, they watch, they absorb, and they reflect it back to us. But also compassion. I think compassion is a big key. Compassion to yourself, but also to your children. And as well, again, looking at the magic, looking at the positive things and creating them, really actively deciding, okay, I want to find the positive in even the challenging situations. So yeah, water, sunlight, fertilizer, that's the flower of parenting that blossoms over time.
So if I understand correctly, and correct me if I didn't get it, is happiness unconditional as a parent? So it's not that I'm happy because my child did this or was able to do that, but whether he does it or not, I'm still happy as a dad.
Absolutely. Exactly. I think it's quite dangerous to attach happiness to the behavior of your child because you can't control them. You can't make them do what you want them to do every single day of your life. There might be a phase when they're little where you have certain control over them. They grow up, you don't have that control. So if you attach your happiness to how they behave, you are on very thin ice because you have no control. But you have control over what you think and how you feel and how you show up as a parent. And that changes how you experience happiness in the family. Yeah.
Before you said that parents feel that the way their children behave reflects on them. Okay, so I don't want to be a grumpy parent. I like I've got my busy life, I've got my career, or maybe I'm a stay-at-home mom, or whoever's listening today might be like, I want to be a happy parent, but I'm grumpy. What can I do?
Yeah, what can you do? I mean, like I said, I'm not, walking on clouds. I also have grumpy days. But I think it's important to realize the stress that we have in our lives today. I mean, there's studies, just like you had an intro study, there are loads of studies that stress right now is at an all-time high. And we all feel it. And I think as parents, we feel it maybe even a little more than other people. But I think we need to really realize how full is our cup, because stress affects us in so many ways. It's the main factor when we get negative emotions. When we're in stress, we are in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we are not at our best because our brain doesn't function properly. We have all sorts of things going on. We can't be present. I mean, you probably experienced that. If you have a really great day, you have a lot more patience with your children. Then you come home, you rush, you had a horrible day at work, whatever it is, you snap much more easily. So it's important to realize how stressed you are. You need to get your sleep. You need to have good nutrition, movement, and again, finding time where you experience magic. Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day where you do something that really brings positive energy to you? That could be going for a walk at the beach, listening to music, singing, dancing, drawing, anything that really gives you a boost of positive energy. And it's important. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you need to find a way to put that into your daily habits, routines, because it makes a huge difference how you show up to your children.
So again, it's a bit of a flip side of the equation here. When you said de-stress for your kids, in fact, it takes me back to when I was still in London. I was kind of a first or second year analyst. I was in investment banking before I shifted career. And I remember my MD, so the managing director, was coming to work at 6 in the morning. And we were like, well, he's got 3 kids. I mean, why is he coming so early? So once he said to me, you know what? The reason why I want to come to work in the morning is I can't bear to hear my kids cry in the morning, getting ready to go to school. And so that was his stress. And I thought there was a big imbalance, because you're not supposed to be stressed around with your kids. But the reality is that there's many people like him. And so is it bad to feel that stress?
Well, stress is part of our life, but the question is, do you want the stress to take over your life and live a stressful life? Or do you want to be in control and decide how much stress you want to let in? And there's stress that's good. We need stress to perform, and we need stress to have purpose and to feel excited. But there is certain stress which is not good for you, which is not good for your health. I mean, but a lot of people know that stress is, heart disease, belly fat that comes from stress, comfort eating. Very often people eat a lot of junk food because they're stressed. So we know stress is not good, but how much stress do you want to let into your life? And is a coping mechanism of running away from your kids the thing that you want to do? It's a coping mechanism. Yeah, you get out of the house, you're done with it. But is that why you had kids in the first place? And is that the parent you want to be? That's the question. And that's when you have to realize that, again, you can change the patterns, the way you think. Yeah, mornings are stressful. I mean, I don't know, I'm not necessarily loving our morning routine, But at the same time, if I already wake up and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to shout, they're going to scream, it's going to be horrible. Again, if you're focusing on these negative things, it's going to be that way. If you wake up, you make sure that you find some time, I don't know, you brush your teeth, you listen to a song, I don't know, you have a morning cuddle, you wake up early enough so that you have enough time to take it easy, not to rush them around like crazy. You know, there are ways that you can change your daily routine to accommodate. I mean, yeah, some kids are easy, they follow the routines. Other kids, they want to play for an hour, and then how can you make that happen? I think this is where parents do have power and control of how they, what they make, how they create the routine, what they focus on, you know. Yeah.
How would you say someone could get started on working on themselves? I've heard you say in other, I can't remember whether it was on one of your YouTube videos or at a conference that you did for us, and you said that we are triggered often by our children's behavior. It triggers something in us from our own childhoods, or a trauma that we've maybe gone through. How can we go about healing those moments so that we show up differently for our kids and start to become happy ourselves?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, very often the behavior of our kids is not the thing that causes us the trouble. It's how we feel about it. So my child does something and it triggers an emotion in me, and I feel frustrated, I feel disrespected, I feel not listened to, ignored, I feel invisible. There's all sorts of emotions and feelings that come up because of the act of the behavior. But that's not the child, that's me, that's my emotions. So we have been parented by our parents. We have learned certain rules and expectations of parenting and how parenting is done in this sense, but also there's society and culture at large where there are rules and expectations of how to parent and how to be a good parent. And with that, we have these internalized. We are not even aware of them. They are so deep ingrained in that we can't even put a finger on it, but they come up every time something is happening in the family. And when we feel frustrated or negative emotions, we often feel like failures. I'm not a good parent. I'm not able to handle this situation. I'm failing. I'm not living up to the expectation of what is a good parent. But they are triggers that come from a lot from our past. So for example, if you have grown up as a child where you were not supposed to be very noisy, very, expressive, where that was seen as, no, this is not good, the noise will trigger you. If you grew up somewhere where exactly. So when your child is loud, even though maybe you don't really mind, like you're okay with the loud child, internally it might still trigger you, especially on days when you're stressed. On days where you're chill, you're probably going to be okay with it. But on days where you had a lot of mental load, the noise will trigger you. And the same if you have grown up with parents that didn't allow you to express anger. Anger is going to trigger you. If you were labeled as lazy, when you wouldn't concentrate, when you wouldn't sit down and do your homework, when your kid gets up from the homework and runs around, it's going to trigger you. So it's all these little things, all these behaviors that you had a reaction as a child, you have internalized. And even if you don't necessarily believe or want to parent that way, they are inside you. And how you start healing them and how you start really recognizing them is by taking the time for yourself. So if you have a situation where your child did something that you didn't like, listen to yourself and realize, what are the thoughts and emotions I'm having? Where is that coming from? Was my dad saying something to me when I was a child about that? Was my grandma not accepting me to speak up, express my opinion because it was seen as rude? Really just listen to what's happening and where is it coming from? And then thinking, okay, is that really what I believe? Do I see it as disrespectful if my child expresses a different opinion? Is it crazy loud? Is it like if they're having fun, if they're going wild in the pool, they're having a good time, is that something I want to shut down? Or is that something that has been taught to me? And then obviously once you recognize it, when you have the awareness, you can work on the practice of choosing to change how you react. So you can say, no, it's okay. Or is it too loud for me now because I've been stressed? Do I maybe need to find a time to decompress from my workday? Do I need 5 minutes of quiet time, and can I make it happen without waiting for the explosion, waiting for that moment where everything goes crazy? You have that capability, but you need to listen to yourself to make time for that.
So I think what you said, I mean, I get it. I feel that I've been through that process, and sometimes, I have time to work on it and find, okay, I'll just go through it. But it takes effort. It's not an overnight change, and you kind of need to keep at it. And a lot of the times you feel like you're failing at this. And when you say, parents find themselves as failures, I actually know a lot of parents that have come to us and say, I don't think I'm good at parenting, and therefore, I work, I have enough money, I hire a nanny to be able to care for my kids, and I know they're happy. But is that a good solution? Is that a good alternative to being the parent yourself?
But I don't want to judge about what's good or bad, because that's one of the things that gets us in the trouble in the first place, because we want to be a good parent and we don't want to be a bad parent. But who is there to say what is good, what is bad? Because eventually it's down to our own choices, our own values and beliefs and all of that to decide. But I think, again, it goes back to, is that the parent you want to be? If this is your choice, well, you're a free will, you can execute that choice. But if you deep inside feel that you're failing as a parent, then probably it's not what you want to do. You want to do something different. And if you want to do something different, you've got to put some effort in to change it. I mean, it's just like working in your career. If you want to progress your career ladder, you've got to put some effort in. And then it's a decision and a choice you've got to make. And then you've got to go through it. And at work, you have bad days. You might not get the promotion. You might not succeed in that project. And the same in parenting. There will be bad days. There will be amazing days. And I mean, I just have that myself. Like, something works amazingly one day, and I'm like, "Oh, that was great. I'm an amazing parent." Next day, the same situation arises and it just doesn't do anything. And I'm like, what happened? Like, yesterday, that was like fantastic. And today, no. But it's the human experience, it's just part of it. And we've just got to wake up again and try to do it, not better, because again, that's a bit judgmental, but try to do it again and see, does it feel good for me? Am I the parent I want to be? And if yes, then you're doing a great job. I think,
And I've heard you say in one of your mom chats that you have on YouTube that you actually have a couple of rituals, and one of them is that you actually change your outfit to demarcate your work time from when you go to get your boys. Could you speak a bit about
Yeah,
that?
I love rituals because, I mean, as parents, we like routines, we like habits, because kids function quite well when they know what's coming up. But it's the same for us. But rituals goes a little bit deeper. It adds a little bit more purpose and meaning to what we do. And when I started out with my business, I really struggled to switch off, because I was working in the morning and I would then take over in the afternoon, be with my kids. But my mind was in my business, the emails I hadn't answered yet, the projects that I'm working on, the excitement, because I love what I'm doing and I always have ideas, all the things I want to do. And I kept thinking about it, and I wouldn't be present with my kids. And being present is a big key to happiness, because that's how you notice the small moments. You don't notice the small moments of happiness and magic when you're on your phone, when you make your meal plan, when you think about your shopping list. You don't notice them because your mind is occupied. So for me, it was like the quality of the time over the quantity of the time. So if I can have half an hour of really present, connected time with my children, they would behave so much better, because they had what they needed. They had me fully present with them. So I had to find a way to switch off work. And I tried different things. There are different techniques. For me, changing the outfit really helped, because it was this like physical activity that really marked the end of my workday, putting the mom head on and now go on. And that took practice again. It didn't happen just like that. I was trying different things. It didn't work. I did this a few times. I felt, okay, this feels good. And with time, it really created another trigger, going back to the triggers. So now my automated thought pattern there is, okay, work is finished. It will be there tomorrow. I'm not going to check my emails. I'm not going to think about all the things. I will be present. And parents can do that if they work in an office. They could sit in the car for 2 minutes. They could take a breathing exercise or listen to their favorite good mood song. Or even when you come home, you go through the door, you say hi, you go right into your bedroom, you change. And it really helps to just step into the different role, because it's a different role. It's different from working in an office or being, at school. All these things, as a parent, you've got to put on a different hat to be there for your kids properly. So yeah, I love rituals. They're great to help you implement the changes that you want to make. There are really these like triggers, the marks for you to, okay, this is the behavior I want to bring out now. Yeah.
Something else I wanted to get your thoughts on was about discipline, parents disciplining their kids at home. And so a lot of parents would say, look, I can't be the source of happiness to my kids. In fact, they see me as the bad cop. I'm the one having to tell them, come and eat. You need to finish your dinner. You need to do your homework, or you can't have the screen, and then I become their worst enemy, and I feel that, can I still be a happy parent, or can I still be a source of happiness for those children if I have to discipline them? And I feel that if I don't discipline them, then I fail as a parent.
Yeah, this is an interesting question, and it brings all sorts of thoughts to my mind, and it's definitely something that is challenging for me too. But I think what comes to my mind is, for example, my little one, 3.5 years old, I give him a piece of chocolate before dinner. This is not what my nutritionist is going to like. This is not what society tells us is the right thing to do. But if he has this piece of chocolate, he's happy. He will eat his dinner without the drama. My parenting is easier. The dinner time is happy. So yes, I will give him that piece of chocolate, even though I know it's not really how it's supposed to be. But sometimes because we want to be a good parent, we want to do it right, we stick to something that is not working, and we butt our heads out because I believe this is supposed to be like this. But maybe it's not supposed to be like that. Maybe there is a different way that works for your child. Again, developmental phases. A lot in parenting is a phase. So just because I give him a piece of chocolate doesn't mean that he's going to end up obese and ill and all of that, because he is 3.5 years old now. He will eventually grow up because we eat healthy in general. So he will see that, like it's all realizing, is the fight really worth it? And does it bring me the outcome? Does he enjoy doing homework because I force him to do homework? Is he going to learn that homework is a dread? Is he going to learn homework is horrible, I don't want to do it? Or can I find ways to make it fun? Can I understand what motivates them? This is another thing. Really understanding what is the motivation for your child and using that to get them to do. It's not necessarily bribery. I mean, a lot of there are people who swear on bribery. It's not really my thing, but it's understanding that, for example, before we started, I shared that my sons, they love fishing. I have to go fishing with them every single day. So I use fishing as the currency. If you want to go fishing today, you've got to do this. And with that, there is no argument, because they know this is important to them, so they will do. So there's different techniques, but I think it's important to really find out what makes your child tick. And again, remembering not to allow these triggers take over your reaction. If they are upset because you're taking away the iPhone, what does it happen? What does it do to you? Are you frustrated because now he's again throwing his tantrum because I'm taking away the phone? He shouldn't be on the phone anyway. Like, he's already too long that he's watching YouTube. Well, is that going to solve the situation? Or could you just go in and be like, darling, I know you enjoy watching this thing. What is it actually about? Oh, it's fishing. What is he doing? Oh, he caught a big fish. That's amazing. Well, dinner is waiting. How long is that video? 2 minutes. Okay, you can watch for 2 minutes, but then you're going to switch it off. It's different from going in and being like, you've got to do this now because I say so. I mean, this is a sentence. I sometimes say it, but this is a sentence that does not work with children. So it's trying to find the workaround. Again, it's more effort. I get you. You might be thinking, oh, but there's so much effort to do this. But if you want to show up as that parent that gives love, shares happiness, creates happiness in your family, then I think it's worth doing the extra effort, because the result will be a different one.
So for me, it's not so much the effort. I think we've covered that. I think there is effort. But I think there's also this thing of, well, if you cross that line, if the line was at 8 o'clock, you're supposed to surrender the screen, and you say it's going to take another 5 minutes or 8 minutes. Is there an area of flexibility? Do you need to pick your battles with your kids, or actually it has to be this because otherwise 5 minutes will turn into 30 minutes, will turn into 1 hour, and they
Yeah.
will know,
Well,
that
this is
they have the upper hand.
where the boundary comes in. If you say 5 minutes, it's got to be the 5 minutes. If then you let it go for half an hour, well, the battle will continue because you haven't held your boundary. You haven't, really stood your ground. But again, it's like, how would you feel if I come in and you, I don't know, reading a book, and you're at the end of your chapter, and I come in and I say, Rishi, it's bedtime now, coming back now. Well, what does it do to you? You won't be very happy and compliant. So it's again about really realizing, am I being compassionate to my child at that moment? And I mean, it's also the safety. If there's a safety factor involved, yeah, sometimes you've just got to, I don't know, pull them back from the road because it's dangerous. But otherwise, we've got to have a bit of flexibility in a healthy sense.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we have battles.
Or we could maybe, if we're aware of the time and we know, hey, listen, we've got to get out the door by this time because of, X, Y, and Z. Should we then be mindful enough to go, okay, guys, 20 minutes until is that something that?
Yeah, I mean, I always worked with the time of the warnings, like when we are on the playground or anywhere, we go fishing. I'll be, okay, you've got 15 more minutes. And I'll give them a 10-minute warning and a 5-minute warning and a 2-minute warning, and then we go. And that worked. I have done that since they were little, and they internalize that, and they know that this is how it is. And that took time to implement. We did have struggles in the beginning, and they wouldn't want to come, but eventually I think it's like the routine and the predictability for children is important because they have very little control about what's going on inside them. So if you give them things that they work with that gives them control. So if they know there is this kind of warning system, if they know what is to be anticipated, what is coming next, it helps them to manage their exactly. If you lie out the steps, like today is a big day for my little one. They have the first time they're going horse riding. There's a birthday in nursery. It's my big son's birthday. There's going to be a sleepover. So it's a lot of things. So in the morning, I told him, okay, this is what's going to happen today. And it's going to be quite an amazing day, but it could also mean that you feel quite tired and, it's okay. And, this is just to prepare him so he knows okay, there are some things happening that are not, the usual, and it's just for them to help, to regulate themselves.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I think that you always seem to bring out something. It really speaks to me, and I'm sure to all of our listeners, they will pick up something from today's conversation that they will really be able to take with them. And so thank you so much for sharing all of your, you come with a wealth of knowledge that is it's obvious that you've lived that. And we really appreciate it. Yeah.
And for our listeners, how do they reach out to you, contact you, find you?
Yeah, so in terms of social media, I like Instagram. So on Instagram, it's _anraju_. And I've got a website, it's anraju.com. And I love sending email newsletters. So if you like a bit of storytelling, a bit of my kids' parenting stuff, some tips, some tricks. I mean, yesterday I sent out a little 3-minute video about the whole rain school closures and how much I struggled and how I found the magic in those moments. I send out these little tips and tricks once a week, and I think usually the email newsletter is probably the best way where you can get some tips, but also experience my life, my little magical parenting experience.
I think we'll put some links in our show notes so that
That
people
would be amazing.
can find you.
Thank you.
Because we really appreciate all the work that you do. And thank you for joining us here at this beautiful hotel, Trua Beach. Thank you, Beachcomber, for having us.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Take care.